Hey, this is Matt Vojek, and this is the Creating Business Podcast. Each episode, I sit down and talk to a guest from the creative industries of advertising and marketing about work they've done for a business and their thought process behind all their decisions. By digging deep into projects and the decisions made, we unearth new insights and ideas about creating amazing work that moves the needle for businesses. This is the Creating Business Podcast. All right, so the project in question this week is Cohatch. Cohatch is a little bit different than a lot of the other kind of projects we've talked about so far, but I think it's just a really great kind of case study into being creative when it comes to developing a company, creating a team around you of people. I don't want to give too much away here, but yeah, it's in Columbus, Cohatch is one of the fastest growing companies. They're doing something definitely right, and I'm gonna sit down with Matt here in a couple seconds, and yeah, enjoy. All right, I'm here with Matt Davis. He is the CEO and co-founder of Cohatch. How's it doing, Matt?
I'm doing good. It's very like NPR entry. It was like very serious.
Yeah, this is my microphone voice. I learned that I have one of those. I was just doing like a little practice voiceover for a video that we're doing, and like I clear my throat a bunch, and I'm like, and now, like the guy on like the movie trailers and stuff.
Yeah, very calming. It's almost like you're not trying to wake up a baby or something.
I think that's so. Whenever I started doing, like a lot of like videos for like teaching and stuff like that, and that's literally what I was doing. So I had whenever I would show the videos to people in my class, they would even say the same thing. They're like, "Your voice is like really like calming, like a baby's like nearby." I'm like, that's the idea. Like, that's
put me to sleep. Don't start singing rockabye.
Yeah, there it is. Anyway, so first question that I have here is, I want to hear in your own words, what is Cohatch?
Sure, I get that a lot lately. Well, most people start with that we're a co-working space, and the reality is that used to really bother me. At the beginning it didn't. I actually was trying to build a co-working space. Then after we started to evolve, which we'll probably talk about later, I started to hate it because I knew that I actually don't like a lot of co-working spaces because it's, everything that I don't necessarily like. It's all about work, and thrive at work. And most co-working spaces are nothing more than rent arbitrage with some putting lipstick on a piece of crap and call it a community, have a networking event on a Thursday, and bang, all of a sudden we're a high valuation co-working space. But I've kind of embraced being a co-working space again because at the end of the day, all I try to do is get people to understand, come in here, and with WeWork coming to town, everybody else coming to town, they're pumping tons of money in advertising about conditioning a market about what is co-working, which is great. And people are smart enough to realize they just look around and shop a little bit, and then they come see us. Then we get the chance to explain who we are and what we are. So we start with a co-working space. We have unbelievable spaces and to work in, and I wanted to design the system around kind of my life. Cohatch is, sometimes I call it the most selfish concept in the world because I literally was an executive in a large Fortune 200 company running a $200 million business unit for them, and I wanted to go out on my own and do something with much more purpose in life. And I really just wanted to live my life, and my life was not this all work all the time. It was, I love my wife, I love hanging out with my 3 children, I love serving in the community and volunteering and helping other people. And I want to say I like being healthy and fit, but I don't. I have to, but it's like it's what you're supposed to do. So I really just came up with this whole concept of everyone really wants to kind of live like that. So why can't we build spaces or a concept that integrates this total life approach into one concept? And that's what really resonates with people, I think. And I think we become generally very mission focused about helping other people, which is pretty authentic and which resonates with people, which makes it's very hard to be authentic. You can't fake caring about people, and that's why I think one of the biggest advantages of Cohatch are. So overall, Cohatch is a co-working space that helps enable, our mission is to strengthen communities and improve people's lives, but our goal is to not enable you to be the best worker you could be. It's helping people enable to be the best person they could be, that live their ideal lives in all facets, and that's why you see conscious decisions of how we built Cohatch to enable people to do that.
Yeah, man, that's a big reason that I was kind of drawn here myself, is that, so I come from this background of, before I was in Columbus, I was in Los Angeles, and I was working pretty ridiculous hours. And I'm not saying that was like the worst thing ever, but over time, whenever I had my first son, I was like, I don't want that life. Like, it was cool for a little bit, but like, I don't know. For me, it was like I need something else, and I'm tired of like being the hero that works all night, like that kind of thing.
Right.
So things like that, like you saying that, man, like that's it right there. So can you take us back to the moment that you decided like we're gonna start this?
Yeah.
Like, take us back, like the steps kind of leading up to that moment.
So it's a interesting story. I mean, if you understand my background, I mean, I'm engineer, big companies, work my way up, VP, planner, Six Sigma black belt, MBA, business case, yada yada. And of all the things I've ever done, this was the least planned and least choreographed and least business case type of thing I've ever done. So I never really started with this big fancy business case on let's build a co-working space, right? So it came honestly from a desire to, because I needed to do something. So basically in early 2016, I was in the senior management of an oil and gas startup, when I think is one of the most unethical companies in the world, honestly. So run by a Russian billionaire, and mix oil and gas and Russian billionaires together, and it becomes interesting. But I was on the side. I always had a side hustle. In 2008, my buddy and I did a bunch of Snap Fitnesses in Columbus, and we developed came with this unique approach. Most Snap Fitnesses are suburban and strip malls, and we said, well, no, we want to actually cherry pick and put them in cool, walkable communities to do. And we did 8 of them, and we sold them and did well. And we started to want to create our own concept on the side, and we developed Mesh Fitness in Bridge Park. So that's another startup that we have and own. But as we were doing that one, I used to do Snap Fitnesses on the side for people and develop them. And when I was doing one in Worthington, Ohio, the old hardware store came open, and I was walking through the space. And I mean, they told me it wasn't leasable, it was abandoned, and I'm like, show it to me, right? So I walked through the upstairs, and I'm like, this is gorgeous. I mean, it was rat infested, it was boarded up, but it was 14-foot ceilings in a 110-year-old building. It was awesome. And at the time, I was thinking, well, I would love to work in this space. I didn't know what I was going to do. And I distinctly remember the moment we were working on Mesh Fitness. One of my partners, Joel Limes and Elizabeth Limes, they called me, and they were working on Mesh, and they actually are brand designers and out on their own, but he was the creative director of WD, and she works in creative for a long time, and brilliant people. And they're like, I'm tired of, I got kicked out of I have a newborn baby, I can't work in my house, I'm tired of public libraries, it's too quiet, I can't work in coffee shops anymore. And I just started chuckling. I go, well, I've always wanted to go out on my own, so why don't you design me an office space and I'll build it and you could have free rent forever. So that's how Cohatch started, right? And then I always had this dream as an entrepreneur. Ever since I was 22, I was always sketching I was working for Anderson Consulting at the time, social enterprises before they were known as social enterprises, how to help people, how to do things. Had no idea how to do them. So I always had this dream of like, I'm going to quit my corporate job. I'm going to go into a place, I call it whiteboard, right? It's a blank office with a whiteboard, and that was going to be day one, right? And I'm like, well, this office space could kind of be like that, but, why don't I just get 4 or 5 other people to work in it with me so I can afford it? And we were lucky enough to have our own capital and self-finance it at the time. And then we just started filling up with different people who wanted the location, and then all of a sudden we started having these aha moments of like, the stage in that building was literally the town hall in the 1920s and 30s. They did plays, they did musicals. It's just the whole community rallied around that space. It kind of was a shock to me that it was boarded up and not used anymore. There's no history to it. People don't talk about it. I'm like, well, why don't we just, the whole concept, if you look at our website, we call ourselves Town Hall 2.0, right? That's where that started from, is being able to say, well, how do I get people back to the center of town, back to living in community, back to actually doing things other than just work in it? So we created this concept called, this whole concept where anyone could use our space for free as long as they donate to charities. And that was kind of my aha moment when I was driving on vacation. It just hit me. I'm like, awesome, I could raise money for charities. We're not using the space at night. And all of a sudden people would have like birthday parties and fundraisers. And as soon as we started doing that with 10 or 12 different charities, and the volume just kept picking up and the foot traffic, and everyone kept talking about how beautiful the space was, we filled up really quickly. So that was really this first story of how we filled up, how it kind of, the whole Town Hall 2.0 concept came to existence, all because of that stage and that old abandoned space in the middle of Worthington.
Yeah. So so then you make the decision, like, okay, we're gonna make a business out of this. Let's go to that point. So at what point does it stop becoming, you just having an office space to, hey, you know what? I think I have a concept here that might be scalable.
Well, right after that, honestly, like we not to get into the story, but basically I was kind of forced to make a decision to leave that other company, right? So as soon as you basically know you have nothing else to do, you start thinking about things as an entrepreneur differently, right? Do I want to go back and take a different job somewhere else? And I knew I kind of had something at Cohatch, and I'm like, you know what, I'm going all in with this because, hey, worst case, I'm going to work it for a while and be one location. But right after we filled up and I started, the city of Worthington called me again. Go back a few months. I left and became 3 months before we opened, I became full-time doing it. And from that helped me fill it up, right? Nothing like being in your own system. You can't dabble too much with your own concept. You got to jump in and make sure it works, right? So after about 2 months, the city came to me and said, well, we have this other building and like down the street, and it's an old library. And I'm like, man, there's actually a market for this, right? We're building this cool product. Cities love us. They gave us grants to do the next one because we're bringing jobs back downtown. Yeah. We're restoring old buildings. We're fixing the broken window effect. Other people want to be around us. It's like, yeah, I'll take a look at it. So they actually gave us a very healthy grant package. Our second location, we don't pay rent for 10 years. We had to do the build out, but they gave us a nice grant and some other stuff to go do it. And we filled that up pretty quick. And then Delaware called because they heard. And I'm like, well, this whole notion of taking idle assets, idle buildings, historic buildings, and repurposing them, and not going to skyscrapers that are brand new and building these same damn co-working spaces, but also this net that I'm like, well, I don't want to go downtown. I don't want to drive downtown. Why don't I just build multiple locations that you could use any of them around town? Kind of like I stole a little bit from that Snap Fitness concept where it's 24/7 scan in, scan out. Mm-hmm. You can go to any location, but we just put it in a different package. So it's kind of taking this merger of Snap Fitness, community-minded models, fragmented. And I almost look at Cohatch as, it kind of hit me where gyms were in 30 years ago. 30 years ago, gyms were Gold's Gym, huge big box gym, Valley's, all this other stuff. Then all of a sudden the small gym came out, right? And what it was is owner-operators. I could put them in 4,000 square feet because there's not 50,000 square foot spaces in downtown Old Worthington or Dublin. So this whole notion of cherry picking and putting multiple locations in and connecting them all was something totally different than what I've seen before. So we started doing that, and then that's when I knew we had something that would at least grow pretty significantly, like multiple locations. And then the biggest reality check for scalability happened when I was sitting in the parking lot of Sears in Polaris, and I just had this vision of seeing Cohatch on the Sears box, right? And I'm like, that's going to die. Why can't I take that, right? And all of a sudden, about a couple weeks later, Polaris called. And they said it wasn't quite Sears. We actually were talking about Sears originally. But they said, well, we have this old English pub space that no one could use and we can't rent. And I'm like, I'll figure it out, right? So bang, as soon as I'm like, I never want to build Cohatch. Cohatch is always going to be walkable old buildings. And I'm like, well, it's okay if I take over idle retail spaces too. I just have to make them different, add value to our network differently. So Polaris, I'm like, well, we have a bar. Why don't I turn it into a bar at night? And all of a sudden, other Bark, like Brothers Drake from downtown, was like, yeah, I'd love to be a part of that with you. And the malls were helping us pay for them. So this whole aha moment when retail is going to change, malls are going to change, stuff's going to be available. Why not, instead of tearing stuff down and building new stuff, let's repurpose it, because that's cool. I love being in repurposed spaces. So that was the other biggest scale one. And then once we did something with Polaris and the REIT, and announced that, every REIT in the country's contacted us about doing something differently, because their CEO walked in our Worthington location. One of the best moves we ever did was the Matery. The Matery is a maker's concept, a social enterprise that's part of our space. And I always struggle with why are we different than co-working spaces. So I started building these maker spaces that were social enterprises. And then I bought a beach house because I'm like, I always wanted a beach house and I could share it with everybody. And then I did a mobile trailer. Then we have a Moby, which is our mobile community center. We do volunteer events to help people. So I started adding all these other things and I showed it to him. And he looks over at his person and he goes, this is what I've been looking for. I want it. Do it. And that was that quick. I'm like, sweet. So that was done. And then they were talking about some partnership with them. And I've been blown away by how many people finally realize that we're totally different than just a co-working space. And now it's taking off, and we've announced Indianapolis. We'll be announcing Cincinnati next week, and probably 7 or 8 other cities soon.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn. So, all right, we're gonna dive in a little bit to something there. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people might see this as you were just in the right place at the right time, and you got a little bit lucky. Mm-hmm. What do you say to that?
There is no question I'm in the right time. I found the right place. I don't think there's a lot of luck about it after that. So the reason I'm in the right time is because the world is shifting and evolving. The world of the gig economy, the freelancers, WeWork, all these people and honestly, the economy's good, and there's a shitload of money out there just being thrown around like you can't even imagine on like co-working spaces, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, are we at the right time? Old office spaces are evolving. And also Amazon, the existence of Amazon crushing retail and creating open capacities in retail space. So there is no question that I will say that there was a little bit of, I think it's more grace or blessings than luck, but mm-hmm. there was the right time for me to step out to do this and to be a year or two ahead of other people mm-hmm. was the right timing. But the part that I think that I've added a lot of value to with my team is it is not about making money. It is about building something for us to live in our own world or ecosystem, and to be able, the simple realization that humans are designed to live in community, but they're designed to actually not, this whole notion of work-life balance really pisses me off. So yeah. Like people always speak on it like it's like they're brilliant. Oh, we got to balance work and life. And I'm like, you do realize that work should be way less than 50% of who you are, not equal to the other stuff that you are as a human, right? So the ability for me to take risky moves about seeing the vision of kind of saying, well, if I add a beach house, everyone wants a beach house, right? I don't want to wait till I'm 75 to have one. Mm-hmm. But if I'm willing to share it with other people, we could have it today, right? Everyone wants to volunteer. They don't because life happens and they get too busy. But if I make it easier on them to volunteer, they probably will because they know it's the right thing to do. They want to help other people. You got to make it convenient for them. And they also have loyalty and kind of authenticity with doing that. People want to spend time with their family and they want to have family reunions, but they don't have spaces. They can't afford it. Well, they could use our spaces to do that, right? For free, donate to charity and do that. So this whole vision of connecting this network of things to build a life, I haven't seen anyone else do that. So that wasn't lucky, that was intentional. But the timing was good. The world is changing and will continue to change. But I think we took advantage. We've intentionally engineered a solution that is different.
For sure. So I guess like along this path, I mean, how many people are involved in kind of the making of this? To get to this point, like how many people have been involved in building Cohatch?
Quite a few. I mean, I get a lot of the FaceTime and a lot of the glory, honestly. But what I think I've been most proud about building something is that I believe you could only optimize in life in like any mathematical equation for one variable, right? Most entrepreneurs try to optimize, a lot of entrepreneurs try to optimize for keeping all the ownership for themselves, right? Some people try to optimize for profit or money. I try to optimize Cohatch intentionally for existence in impacting people. So as soon as you don't optimize for the other pieces of it, you're willing to share more. So one of my favorite things I love to speak on is working with people that amaze you and partnering with people who amaze you. And if you're a brand designer and your friend's a brand designer, your brand designer probably doesn't amaze you. Your friend doesn't amaze you because you do what they do, right? But my partner, Joel and Elizabeth, who design stuff and make these come to reality, truly, I am blown away with their mind of what they can do. I couldn't do anything that they do, right? I could visualize it. I can think through it. I can create the business model behind it. But by partnering with them to do it and design it was a huge competitive advantage for us. They own part of the company. When you own something, you design it differently, no matter what the details are better, right? Mm-hmm. So then my other partner, Terry, I've met him known him for 15 years. He builds all of our sites. He owns part of the Cohatch, and he's the construction guy, and he builds them like it's his house, right? And with love and intention and all that type of stuff. My other partner, Ryan, he's the one that helped me fill it originally. He literally is the best networker. He talks to everyone. He has no shame of walking in the middle of anything and meeting people, right? And that's how we got the first people coming in. He's great at it. He's great at doing and kind of spreading it, just selling things and growing and marketing. And my other partner, Eric, he just finally came on board, I'm proud to say, full-time a couple weeks ago. And he'll run our operation nationally, but he's much more analytical. He's the yin to my yang, if you will. He's like much more conservative and operational, and I'm more visionary, and we can do type of thing. But there's a whole group of us that own the company that work together, and we all have the same mission. Not one of us do it to die a billionaire worth millions of dollars, right? We would rather die knowing that we helped thousands of cities get better, bring community back to them, and no money than the opposite, 10 locations and a lot of money for ourselves. So when you have a partners with the same value system and are all uniquely talented in different ways, that are highly are just great at what they do, that's the biggest difference. Is a lot of people have ideas. Not too many people can make them a reality. And I feel like we have some financial resources as well as talent to make almost any ideal I want reality, right? So that's a huge shift for us as building teams to do that. But I had to give up something to do that. But luckily what I gave up as far as equity and financial or potential financial rewards was made up in friendships and enjoyment of life and all those living life together and things like that.
Yeah. So along this path from, kind of this initial office that you created to now, has there been any like little failures that you've kind of learned from along the way? Yeah,
I mean, luckily they've been little failures, right?
I'm just assuming they were little. So.
But I think the best entrepreneurs, the reason you have to be in your business as the entrepreneur and truly in it, right? Not always half-assed or working a day job and at night working on it type of thing, is that you could respond faster, right? So I physically was the community manager and the only employee of the first location. I ran every day. I sold memberships every day. I heard the feedback every day. I changed our packages and pricing 27 different times to get it right. I talked to people, which gave me the idea that, I heard it a lot, like, what makes you different, which pushed me to be like, well, this, right? Think of this differently. So me being in the concept allowed me to evolve it quicker and to tweak it. And there was a bunch of little mistakes. Like one of my favorite, I was going to speak with your conference, is like, I think it's hysterical. Like I look back on my first pro forma I did for my business, and I'm like, that ain't right. Like, and it's like I was going to call one of my, I hate writing. So if I ever write an article, it's going to be called The Lessons Learned from Creating Your First Business. And it's going to be called less beer and more toilet paper. And the whole story behind that is like literally my first pro forma, we offer free beer and vending machines, right? I have my pro forma thinking I'm going to spend $500 a month in beer. These people are just going to drink like crazy. It's going to be like a constant, like it's going to be gone, right? And then toilet paper, I probably had like $40 a month or something like that. The reality is like people don't drink a lot during work, right? So the beers, I probably spend $30, $50 a month in beer and probably $500 a month in toilet paper, right? So it's like you think all these little mistakes of what you think is going to happen in the reality of the world, but being in your business and being able to adapt quickly and modify things, change your brand, change your story, tweak things a little bit, speed matters. So you're able to do it faster.
Yeah. So how do you feel about that now? I assume you're looking at these invoices for a shit ton of toilet paper. I don't know. I can't imagine how things have changed from the beginning to now. Like, maybe you can explain that a little bit, like your role from that beginning part to what your role is right now.
My role in the beginning was, besides the design, branding, and construction, I still am a lot just construction and build out because my partner's great at a lot, building everything, but I still do a lot of the accounting and back end stuff for that, in running it in operation and pretty much everything I was doing besides construction and branding. Now we have teams of people and community managers and every site with different resources. So I have to pull myself up a little bit. Luckily, I don't take the trash out anymore. I don't have to order the toilet paper. Nice. I don't have to do all this other stuff and make coffee. But the funny thing is, I actually miss that sometimes because I found this really humbling joy of waking up early, going to a site, making coffee, getting it ready for someone and serving people. Because I think that's part of your, like being able to accommodate and serve people. I find it, I could turn my brain off a little bit. I could just truly be with people. So I miss that a little bit. So I got to try to find some time to go and do that sometimes. But I vowed to never run a large company again. We're getting to be large. Not quite. We're small. So we have the potential to be large.
Where do you draw the line?
I drew it last month. So when we decided to go to, we raised the good amount of money, and I had to personally make the decision of, is Matt Davis going to go develop Indianapolis, and am I going to go develop Cincinnati and other regions and a bunch of different locations, and am I going to have Joel and Elizabeth do branding across, and they have 2 young kids. I'm like, no, it's actually hypocritical. I'm not going to put myself back into that position. So luckily I found some investors and some developer groups that have the same exact values. They're mission-based. The first investment they ever put into the company was in a fund that they agreed to whatever they made on Cohatch, they'd give it away to other people and serve other people with it. So we recently created a whole development arm of the company. So instead of franchising to everyone, we were franchising the few select people that will develop with us as partners, like one company, but utilizing their talents. They love development. They love real estate. They love doing what I used to do nationally and building teams. So Cohatch, I am staying in Columbus. I will build Columbus and keep Columbus years ahead of other regions, continue to innovate, bringing people in to train about the culture. But I want to make sure as we grow, we don't lose our soul, we don't lose our mission, and I'll be constantly hounding people. Is the brand still helping people? Are we staying after improving people's lives? It is not a real estate project. It is not a real estate company. It is a life improvement company. So I made that choice so I can spend time with my kids, and they make fun of me. I go on 6 vacations a year, and I am damn proud of it, right?
Hell yeah,
I love it, man. So nothing I'd rather do in this world than be with my wife and kids on a trip, right? So, I think.
Go ahead.
No, that's my favorite thing of like being successful, like entrepreneurs so far, is that everything I used to hate in the corporate America, I can not do, right? I could innovate it differently. So like our vacation policy is unlimited, which a lot of companies are starting to go to. Do your stinking job, right? But I found that psychologically people still weren't taking vacation because they didn't want to let me down, right? They wanted to prove themselves to me. So I wrote a policy memo saying that I don't like tracking vacation because I hated being a VP in a company and people counting my hours, right? I do work my butt off. So, but I am going to start tracking vacation. You're all being tracked. And just so you know, if you get behind on taking vacation, I'm kicking you out of the building, right? It's like opposite, right? So it's like I'm trying to protect you from you. I need you to go away and do other things. I need you to be refreshed. I need you to spend time with your family. I need you to do these other things, and you're going to do it. Like, and it's like some people just, there's a lot of people that are just, I need to be here and do it. They can't detach. Like, now you're detached. Congratulations, you're off for like a week and a half. So I haven't had to kick anybody else yet, but they got the message. They started scheduling vacations. So
maybe I'm getting a little personal here. You tell me to back off if I am, but like, you feel very strongly about this. It's very clear of this idea that it's kind of a waste to just be at work all day long. Like, was there certain moments or experiences that you had at your past jobs that you were like, this is a problem?
I actually never had that. I didn't have the physical time piece of it. I was always very good at being like, okay, it's 5:30, I'm going home, right? Mm-hmm. What I was always bad about is my mind being running, right? So I still have that, right? So I go home at 8. I'm physically there, but mentally I'm not present because it's just like all these ideas in my head. I can't turn it off. I don't believe that work is a waste. I don't believe doing too much work is a waste. I do believe that working on something that has no purpose is a waste.
Yeah.
I do believe that, I tell entrepreneurs all the time, or people who work in their day jobs, it's one of the cool things, by the way, people actually give a crap what I say, so I have to talk to them about it. And I'm very blunt, so that's kind of my style. So I tell people, if you hate your job, right? There were several jobs I hated. And I always hated it after about 3 years, so I just can't be anything longer than 3 or 4 years. But I would sit there and you'd sit there and having arguments in your head, right? You're sitting there, my boss will hold me back here. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I can't stand their whole, this whole policy is stupid, yada, yada. Most likely you have a value, the company and you have different missions or values, right? So if you work for a company like Charity Water, who their mission is to, build wells, do all this other stuff, and they're truly not about like making a ton of money, or you have some green, whatever it is, whatever your purpose is or your mission is, and you could truly, that aligns with your values. Now you're working on something that aligns what you think what your purpose is with that company's purpose, so you have that in common, and you're working towards that. And it's almost like your life, I believe you should be living your life for a purpose. You should be living your life to have an impact. And if your work is aligned with that and your personal life's aligned with that, you're truly not working all the time. You're actually existing how you're supposed to exist. But most people don't have that. I am unbelievably privileged to literally Cohatch. Every day I have to use my gifting for being an entrepreneur and building something and having vision and doing this other thing. I also get to volunteer in my own company, right? And we raised a couple $1,000s of school supplies a couple weeks ago for a school. I get to develop young people and help other people. I get to have my kids come play video games. I get to go to our vacation house and with my children, right? So I tell our employees, if you can't live your whole life inside of Cohatch and you can't find an avenue or path of success inside this, when you leave, good luck. Because it's this is going to be as easy as you have it to do this. Because I'm telling you, if you come to me in 6 months and say you want to do a startup, I'm probably going to help you do it. So you can't really complain. You can't bitch about anything because let's give it a shot, right? I want you to, so I want employees to wake up one morning and be like, I'm going to Cohatch to volunteer and help with this event. Then you're going to realize I'm not working, I'm volunteering. That's what I want to do anyway. So I'm not really working on a Saturday, I'm living on a Saturday just through this system.
Can you tell us about the moment that you were, that you maybe made that decision that you are going to live more purposefully?
Yeah, I mean, I remember doing this. I highly recommend this exercise. I don't really talk about it a lot. There was I forget the tool, mind maps, right? So I hated my old job, and it was miserable, and it was unethical, and all this other stuff. So that's why I had to leave. But I always had all these things that sucked all my energy and joy, and things that gave me joy. So literally on the left side of a piece of paper, I created this map, all the things that suck joy out of me, right, in life. And it could be, my kid was having a health issue at the time. It could be parents' health issue, could be my job or whatever it was. And on the right side, all the things that gave me joy and fulfilled me as a person, right? Creating things, enabling other people, whatever it was, right? I'm a religious guy, so like there's a lot of that with it too. So over time, all I did is I tried to cross off the branches on the left side, right? Like one by one by one. And by that, if you could kill the dead stuff, you become more alive on the other side. So I look back now, almost all of them are gone, right? So during that time period is like, well, I have, every morning I wake up and I have on my sink a couple things, a couple of scriptures, and then I also have this obituary thing that is this small dot with a line arrow going out on each side. And I do believe that if you really think about it, infinity is a long time, right? So the universe has been around for billions of years. You literally have 80 years to 90, whatever, on this planet. It's insignificant amount of time. Like, it's nothing. So you're here. Every day you sit down idle at a desk or doing something you're not supposed to be doing is a wasted one of that time period. So I look at that every day and I say obituary, what I want to be known for when I die. And if you go to any funeral, the same speech, right? No one talks about how much money you have. No one talks about yada yada, what you do with your career. You talk about life change, people you impacted, people's lives you improved, those type of things. But that was probably sitting at my desk in 2015 when I made that decision, but I still couldn't get myself to just like, oh, fine, I quit tomorrow. Man, I'm out, right? Bang.
Yeah. Right.
It still took a little bit of like, I financially was secure enough. The company was, and the board and I didn't get along, right? And it took a little bit of forcing to happen.
Yeah.
So I don't want to make it sound easy. It is unbelievably difficult. It is like to have enough faith to go out on your own and bet on yourself. I always knew, like in my head, I'm a little bit cocky, like in the back, right? I'm confident about my abilities of doing stuff. So I always knew if I ever did it, I could perform really well because I think I'm capable and more capable than a lot of people in how to do things. But I still couldn't do it, right? So, I always, there's this whole thing about, we speak about some other time, we have time, but
go ahead.
No, it's about like, everyone has their fears of why they don't leave and do something. The reality is you get programmed to today's society of what success is and stuff. So I literally I was a psychological basket case. I think it's hysterical. Like I literally be like, I can't lose my job and be a failure because I didn't worry about like me starving to death or like my kids not having something. I'd be like, what would like people in high school think if I didn't do that well? I'm like, who? I didn't even talk to those people. Like I don't even care. Like I always had this fear of like people thought I wouldn't be successful. I have to live up to some expectations. And this definition of success was like something that was cosmetic, right? So I tell people it took me a long time, and it took me almost 6 or 8 months to be able to detach from that. And now I view the world as like if you're an entrepreneur and it's not about success or failure. And the best way I relate it to people is the whole video game thing. So I loved playing Legends of Zelda when I was a kid, and I distinctly remember this is what good branding and what you guys are great at is like literally, I just didn't remember the gold case. And I remember the feel putting it in the Nintendo and pushing it down and I still distinctly remember those things, right? But in Zelda, like no one ever asked you in any video game, how many lives did it take you to solve it, right? Did you solve it? Yes. No one goes, well, you didn't do it in one life? Like, no, I did not. Like, no one does, right? Yeah. So you spend your time in video games creating a strategy, creating a plan, learning, hitting dead ends, resetting, buying tools, making friends, grouping up together, doing all these different things. And then pivoting, and sometimes you have to do a hard reset, shut the thing off, and come back, right? So I view people as it is a game, it is an adventure. The fun part of playing any video game is actually playing. Like when you solve it, you're like, yay, and then you just forget about it and walk away and you go play again, right? So it's not about the final success. It's the enjoyment of playing it, being an adventure, using your skills and gifts to do whatever you can to solve it. And then I always kind of end with that whole little speech with like, in Zelda, I always remember these hearts that I used to collect. And I always view that in Cohatch and everything else, my goal is to collect as many hearts as I can. That's through helping and changing people's lives. And I think that is the prime, like what I really wake up and think is the success of Cohatch, of growing will be really thought of as how many people I help and how many hearts I collect along the way. That's kind of the point of what we're doing. So it's a little bit different mindset, but I tell people, if you're not willing to play the game and be in that adventure and embrace it, enjoy realizing that was stupid and I failed and I got to start over again, then you're probably not ready for it. But if you do it, it's almost impossible to be honest, be ready for it. So when you do it, embrace it. And then I tell people, whatever fear you have about starving to death, you're not going to starve to death. You're not going to go be on a bum on a street doing it. But I'm not saying be stupid about it, but you'll never be more free and alive than when you're actually working for yourself, doing something you're meant to be doing. Now, if some people are meant to be doing in a big company, working on their purpose, helping things, that's great. You'll know it. So, yeah.
That's intense, man.
Not that intense.
I love that.
Yeah.
So something about you is that, yes, you are confident.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I am too sometimes, so I know how that can kind of rub people the wrong way sometimes.
Mm-hmm. What are you saying, rub people the wrong way?
I think what it is that sometimes people that are confident make things seem like they're easy.
Yeah, sure.
And
I get that a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine. And the way you tell your story, especially once you tell it so many times, it sounds like, okay, well, I did this and then I found that and then did this and then that and then Here I am. I don't know. I guess what would you have to say about to somebody that is maybe at the start of the path that you kind of started on, as far as creating your own company? What do you say to people like that?
I would not have done this by myself. I would have no fun doing it by myself. So I think it's a misnomer. I'm thinking about this for the first time now. People always say, when are you going to go out on your own? When are you going to go out on your own? I didn't go out on my own. I went out with a group of people to do something. Now, they kept their day jobs and I didn't, but I had a support system and network around me to do it. So make sure that you never feel like you're alone, because loneliness, again, you're not designed to be by yourself. Loneliness is a scary place. You make up a bunch of weird crap in your head when you're alone, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. So surround yourself with the right people. I'm all for create a great plan and have some resources and do stuff, right? But, there's no good time. There's no ideal time. I was lucky enough or blessed enough to be forced to do a little bit different. At some point, you have to make a decision to do it. Make sure your wife and family are all supporting you and everything like that. And give it a shot. I mean, it's, again, every day that goes by is one less day you have here. So what's the worst that could happen? You got to go. The worst that could happen, literally, is you leave this great job in a great economy, right? I'm assuming people are, if you're going to go out on your own and do something, you're semi-talented at something. Well, if not, then
keep working.
Yeah. But the worst thing that's going to happen is that you're going to go on your own in a good economy. Then all of a sudden the economy's going to tank, right? And your concept's going to suck. And you're not going to work, right? And then you can't get a job again because the economy's bad, right? And that's years of timing to do that. At the end of the day, if you're willing to go through that thing and you can humble yourself to just, worst case, I got to go work at Starbucks or I got to do these other things. And I always tell people I spend a crap load of money, but I still probably live below my means quite a bit, right? I'm not moving. I tell people if I sell Cohatch for $400 trillion, which I'm not selling Cohatch probably ever.
For $400 trillion, though.
Yeah, we'll see. But I'm not moving, right? I have a great life. It's not it's about, I always design things. If I lock my life into place now, I'm great. I'm as happy as I could possibly be. Great family, healthy family, doing what I do every day, good living, doing things. So, it's I have no idea where I was going with that last part, but
that was good.
Yeah.
I love that idea of, I guess you coming from this place where you've seen these giant companies and you are intentionally making the decision that you don't necessarily want the largest company in the world. You don't necessarily want the largest kind of, call it co-working company in the world, and I think it speaks a lot to kind of your values in this whole thing, is that like, we're looking for, we want to make an impact, and for us, we want enough, and I think that's great. And I think that's something that's actually another thing that's kind of missing from that idea of people starting their own businesses, is that they go into it with this goal of, it's going to be Netflix, it's going to be Apple, like it's going to be like, they're using these giant companies as their influence. Yeah. Right. So I guess just in general, like I love that attitude of like, we're going to make an impact and we're going to live the life that we want to live. For me, it's really inspirational to see something like that, and I know you're probably not comfortable with being called inspirational, maybe.
No, I appreciate it. It's very kind.
But yeah, so I guess to wrap things up here, I mean, we could talk about this for hours and hours, but to wrap this up, I mean, you've already talked about it a little bit, but like, where do you see Cohatch going in the future? In 10 years from now, what is Cohatch?
The way I've kind of engineered the growth plan is twofold. It's I literally think Cohatch could be 400 locations nationally, right? And not because I want to be that, because I think that our team's going to go. There's opportunities everywhere for us to try to do different things. And I'm also going to do this program where, like I said earlier, that I'm going to try to engineer this for existence and impact. So I almost relate it to open source coding. Like, I can't get to Lima, Ohio right now, but people who want to do it in Lima, Ohio and want to impact their community, we have this program we're probably going to roll out here's a free license, do it, we're not helping you not make mistakes, impact people, do it, build it. Now, we're going to take a license fee back, and as we make money and become profitable, I'm going to give it back to different charities, right? So it's almost like designing a computer program and open sourcing it, where you take some royalty but you're spending it on other things. So I just seen so many small towns and cities that all these big co-working companies are doing, the Manhattans, the big cities, all this other stuff. Okay, they're coming to Columbus now and other stuff. There's no big co-working companies that are going to Lima and Warsaw, Indiana, and Tip. I got 2 today, right? Smaller towns that want to do stuff, but every city wants this because it's community building. It's everything they stand for. So I'm hoping that we have this whole arm of hundreds of thousands of hundreds of locations that are in small town USA, improving people's lives, building community back. Other groups of networks in bigger cities like Minneapolis and Milwaukee and Nashville and all these other places that are linked together doing the same thing. And then Columbus is still the heartbeat. I just view Columbus as the heartbeat that ensures the blood's pumping through everything consistently. So that's where I hopefully see it. I'd like to end every investor meeting, or I could lose all your money and go bankrupt. One of the two. So that's how I end every investor meeting. So
that's good. I like that.
Yeah.
All right. Last question. Where can people find out more?
Oh, pretty simple. If you're listening to this, you'll figure it out.
There it is.
Cohatch.com, awesome. All yada yada, Google yada shmada. Yada.
Yeah. Nice. Awesome. Thanks a lot, Matt.
All right.
All right, so that was really inspiring talk right there, especially near the end there with Matt. That was, one of my favorite parts about doing this stuff is just getting real deep into conversation. And anytime that somebody says, I don't usually tell people this, like then I know that then we're on to something. And that's the stuff that I love to hear. Just those kinds of details, and I think it's most valuable to everyone whenever we share those kinds of things. But anyway, so my biggest takeaway here, I have one just giant takeaway. Actually, I probably have a couple here. We'll see where I go. The first one is just, I don't know, doing what you're, not treating your job like it is your life. It is finding a way to work with your job in your life, basically, and doing the kind of thing that you are happy doing. one of the things that Matt always says, that I've heard him say several times, is like he hates that idea of work-life balance, and that they shouldn't necessarily be on opposite ends of the spectrum. They should be kind of in the same area. They should be able to live with each other, and you should be able to live a happy life with those things. And that doesn't mean working for 24 hours a day. It means, working, but also keeping your family in mind when you do those kinds of things, and being able to be there for them, and again, to take vacations, and to just not be stuck at a job that you don't like, not wasting your life, doing something that you don't find to be important. To me, that's probably the absolute biggest takeaway. The other one, so after talking a little bit afterwards, we were talking about how he doesn't like to read books. And I think that's just a fascinating thing, because I'm the complete opposite, where I dive very deep into several books on an individual topic at a time. And sometimes you just have to do it. You have to learn while trying to make something work. And I think that there's something really fascinating about that idea of people that are able to do those kinds of things. Just take a risk, try a thing, learn from the experience, and then iterate and adapt. And yeah, I think that's a really great lesson that Matt has for everybody. So that's all I got. Again, super happy with this talk. I hope you guys liked it. That's all I got. Hey, subscribe if you want. You share this with a friend, maybe. And that's my only ask. So that's all I got. Love you. Bye.